everybody, good afternoon, and I have to say good morning for some people around the world. And thank you for being here with us today. I hope everyone is safe and sound with COVID-19 outbreak. And I wonder if you could keep your mic up while you can have your camera on. With great respect, the ILSF family is with the deepest grief at the passing of Professor Helmut Wiedemann on 23rd September this year. He has devoted his life in teaching so many people all around the world to know about accelerators and experimental physics. It was the same here, and I myself, I'm highly inspired by him. And on behalf of my colleagues in ILSF, I would like to welcome all of you joining here today with us. We will have come together to pay our tribute to such inspiring men of science. We have had so many invitations from all around the world, especially those places Professor Wiedemann has worked with, for example, Turkey and East Asia, Europe, Korea. But unfortunately, according to this schedule, bringing a large group of people together at the same time of the week off, therefore, and I welcome all of you who could join us today. So this meeting is held about 40 days after his passing, the 40th day in our culture, and in I think in so many places all over the world could mean something. It means that we remember about our beloved ones, about people who cared us a lot, about people who educated us how to live and how to grow and how to share our knowledge together. And therefore, this is the time I want to ask my upright guests here. The first is Professor Rahege, the head of ILSF and the chair of SESAME Training Committee. Welcome, Professor Rahege, and would like to hear about Professor Wiedemann from you. You have known him for a long time, and know the mic is yours, and you can join us.
Yes. Okay. Hello, everyone. I would like to welcome everyone as we have come together today, or maybe for some people tonight, to celebrate the life of an outstanding scientist and educator in the realm of particle accelerator science. We have a number of distinguished colleagues which have joined us to offer their remembrance of Helmut Wiedemann. I welcome Helmut's friend and colleagues from Stanford, Herman WINICK and Jim SEBEK, Helmut's friend from various parts of the world, Taiwan, Thailand, Turkey, and of course, those who are here at the Iranian Light Source Facility. I also welcome colleagues and advisors, Andrea and LAUSI, which have been helping us during the course of the project from time to time. Lin Liu, which is a member of our Machine Advisory Committee. And also I would like to welcome Pedro TAVARES from Max 4, I suppose. We have been very much welcomed by him in Max 4. And also I would like to welcome David Attwood, which has been to Iran one time, and he has been offering his help from time to time. I will give you a brief account of Helmut's career. Helmut was born in 1938 in Wangen im Allgäu, Germany. His education, he got an MSc in 1963 from Maximilian University in Munich, in Germany. And he got his PhD in 1971 in physics, University of Hamburg. His professional and academic career is the following. From 1965 to 1974, he was a physicist at High Energy Physics Laboratory in DESY, Hamburg in Germany. From 1975 to 1983, he was assistant director of an 18 GeV PEP storage ring at SLAC in Stanford. In 1980, he was adjunct professor and in 1983, full professor of applied physics, photon science at SLAC in Stanford. 1987 to 1990, project director of a sphere injector synchrotron, SSRL at Stanford. In 1993, he published the first modern and comprehensive textbook, Particle Accelerator Physics. In 2002 to 2006, he was director of US Particle Accelerator School. After retirement, advisor to several synchrotron light sources and institutes around the world. In 2005-2010, improvement and new development of Thai synchrotron, SLRI, Thailand. From 2004, he helped advanced radiation sources and applications, CANDLE in Armenia. During 2009 to 2011, he helped to upgrade program of PLS-2 Pohang Accelerator Laboratory in South Korea. And then he helped design and commissioning of Taiwan Photon Source TPS or NSRRC in Taiwan. He also helped Turkish Accelerator Center in parallel to Iranian light source facility between 2009 and 2015. At the same time, he helped Sirius Synchrotron light source LNLS in Brazil. The staff at ILSF have benefited vastly from numerous visits of Helmut to Iran between 2010 and 2015. His last visit to Iran was in 2005 when he participated in the Machine Advisory Committee in Tehran. As an accelerator scientist, even if when he was away from Tehran, he continued to help us through email and other means of collaboration. For me, it was a luck to meet him first time in Taiwan, when I went to Taiwan to visit NSRRC to negotiate some sort of training program as chair of training committee of SESAME. And I met him while he was presenting a course on accelerator physics to the staff of NSRRC. At that time, Iran had no plan to do any light source or to have a project of light source. But since I saw the enthusiasm and the energy he is spending for students and young scientists, I asked him if we would have a program in Iran for a light source. Would you help us? And he immediately said yes. Only a year and a half after that, I invited him to come to Tehran for the first time to set up the project and the technical groups of ILSF. He started by presenting a course of about 5 weeks, and then through that course, we selected our staff for various technical groups at ILSF. He will be remembered as a person who made history in Iran for accelerator science, and we enjoyed his company as an educator of accelerator science in Iran, and his name will be recorded as one of the scientists which has helped us a lot. There was a quite number of things that made Helmut Wiedemann so distinctly different from others. His unarguable dominance in his professional ability as particle accelerator physicist, his exceptional generosity to pass his experience on to others, especially to the young people, and above all, an exemplary feeling of responsibility for training young generation wherever he was. Helmut had a clever sense of humor, which cropped up from time to time and made his company so pleasant. As a director of Iranian light source facility, one of my tasks during the weekend, when he was very tired of teaching one long week, and I had to take him around to show him around sometimes outside Tehran. And once I asked him, Helmut, do you think that your room in the guest house is so small? Would you like me to take you to a larger room? He said, when you turn the lights off, the size of the room does not matter. And then once I remember, I took him to a lake in nearby the site of Iranian light source facility, and we were in 2 different paddling boats. We were paddling on the surface of the lake, and then one of my friend and I decided to have a swim in the lake. So we jumped into the lake, and then he pretended as if we are not going to come back forever. And he said, it was so nice to meet you. And he paddled away from us. I enjoyed his company, and I think indeed very nice to meet him, really. And we will not forget him as a person who generously and without any additional expectation, he traveled a long way from Thailand in an economy class seat and spent so many hours in the plane and came to Iran to teach us for many long days and for very short time of rest at guest house. So I really appreciate and admire him as a scientist. His help to Iranian Life Source Facility will not be forgotten forever. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Raege. Thank you for your notes. And as you said, Helmut Wiedemann was always remembered as a nice guy, a man with a great sense of humor, a passionate teacher, a real scientist who knew how to deal with different people in different places, and he had some vision of looking at life in a class of his own. Thank you for your comments and sharing your memories with us. And now I'd like to welcome Professor Herman WINICK, Professor Emeritus at SLAC and the Applied Physics Department of the Stanford University, the founder of SESAME, most of all a human rights activist, and Andrea Sakharov Prize winner in 2010. It was really interesting for me personally. I would like to know if Professor WINICK is ready to join us and give us some notes about Professor Wiedemann or whatever. You are here, Professor WINICK?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, again, it's a pleasure to join this, and I want to thank the Iranian Light Source Facility for organizing this very well-deserved tribute to Helmut. I think all of you have received the wonderful summary of Helmut's work, primarily at SLAC, that his one of his students, Jim SEBEK, who is on this call as well, and will say more about it, but please read that description, which makes it very easy for me, but I'd like to emphasize a couple of points. Helmut came to SLAC. He was sent by people at DESY, where he was on the staff, because both DESY and SLAC were building colliding beam storage rings for high energy physics. So Helmut was sent to SLAC just as years earlier, when I was at Harvard University at the Cambridge Electron Accelerator, we at Harvard and people at DESY were building 5 to 6 GeV cyclic electron synchrotrons, and the people at DESY sent Gus Voss to Harvard because we were a bit ahead, and he could then learn some of the problems and difficulties and solutions we had in building our facility. He did such a good job that at the end of his one-year visit, paid for completely by DESY, he was offered a job to stay at Harvard, and he wanted to do that. So he went back to DESY and told them that he is accepting the job at Harvard. DESY was very disappointed, but they could not do anything to stop it. So they decided that sending scientists from DESY to a lab in the United States was very risky, because they may never see them again. So they developed a new procedure that anytime they sent someone from DESY to the United States, they made them sign an agreement that if they did not come back for a minimum number of years, maybe 3 or 5 years after the one-year visit, that they would have to repay DESY for the cost of the transportation and salary for their one-year stay at the United States. So when Helmut was sent in the 1980s, many years later, to SLAC, he had to sign such an agreement. And again, it was an example of an outstanding scientist who was doing so well that the leader of the group here, the Accelerator group here, Bert Richter, who went on to win a Nobel Prize, wanted to hire him and offered him a job. Helmut told Bert that he would like to accept the job, but that would mean if he didn't go back, he would have to pay some tens of thousands of US dollars because he signed an agreement that he would come back and work for several minimum years at DESY. Bert was so eager to have this outstanding scientist stay at SLAC and contribute to the program there in high energy physics that he arranged to pay those tens of thousands. I don't know the exact amount, maybe someone else does, but I'm sure it was many tens of thousands of dollars, the cost of that DESY supported Helmut's visit to SLAC. So that's how Helmut stayed at SLAC, initially in high energy physics, but then moved over to synchrotron radiation, which I think was his real love in accelerators. So his time at SLAC was well described by Jim SEBEK. I encourage you to visit that, read that tribute that Jim has written. Jim was, I think, his last student. Is that right, Jim? He was, just nod if you were.
I think the last student at Stanford.
Yes. Anyway, Jim's write-up you can see, as also Javad mentioned, his work at Stanford and going out and spreading the gospel about accelerators and synchrotron radiation throughout the world. I think one of the main benefits of our synchrotron radiation light source community, more than 50 laboratories around the world, several of which are represented in this tribute to Helmut, brings us together. We learn about each other. We learn about difficulties and problems. You can see behind me, the big problem we have in the United States is the problem, the racial problem between blacks and the police. So I am a strong supporter of the movement called Black Lives Matter. And I think I have learned about problems in other countries, including Iran, and learned about the problems of people who are critical of the government in Iran. Want to be careful about what we say here, but anyway, having interactions and communications and cooperation between scientists from all these light sources leads to better understanding of different countries, different ethnicities, different religions, and promotes peace around the world. It's one of the things I'm particularly interested in. As Javad mentioned, that I have been working on human rights for a long time and I was very pleased to receive the Human Rights Award from the American Physical Society, the Sakharov Prize. But there's another prize that I got from the New York Academy of Science, which had a Human Rights Prize. And I was pleased to get that from the New York Academy of Science. When people at SLAC learned that I got this award, they sent out a note saying that WINICK wins Academy Award, which was very impressive to my children. They didn't know that I also was noted for my acting. Okay. Anyway, that was a humorous side effect. But I want to emphasize two things that are described in Jim's nice tribute. One of his major contributions to SLAC, to synchrotron radiation at SLAC, was solution to the problem we had in the 1970s and 80s when injection to spear was from the 3-kilometer LINAC, which was primarily used for high energy physics. So injection to spear was very low priority, and we often waited many hours or even days before we could get a new beam injected into spear. Helmut realized this, and together with our director, Art Bienenstock, developed a plan to build our own injector. That led to a problem, because should the dedicated new injector to SPEAR be a LINAC or a cyclic synchrotron? Helmut studied the problem and realized that the cyclic synchrotron was an effective solution and would cost much less money. And money is always difficult to get. Whereas the SLAC management was very unhappy, because SLAC had never built a cyclic synchrotron. They had built storage rings and, of course, LINACs. But Helmut was convinced, and Bienenstock was convinced, and I was convinced that the cyclic synchrotron was the best solution. We got the money for it. It was very cheap compared to a LINAC. And Helmut led the team to build this cyclic synchrotron, which gave us a dedicated injector and saved, without that, there would be no SSRL, and we would be history. So he used it as a very effective training tool for his students. So not only was it a contribution to synchrotron radiation at SLAC, it was an example of the way Helmut developed training courses. He was the first one to offer accelerator physics courses at SLAC, at Stanford. And he trained many students. Jim SEBEK was one of them. Others have gone on to other labs to have leadership positions there. And not only training students here, but as you heard, going around the world and giving his lectures on accelerator physics, and also writing his book, the definitive books on accelerator physics and synchrotron radiation are now available around the world. One disagreement I had with Helmut was how to encourage the development of a new light source in a place like Iran or Brazil or Mexico. I encouraged, for example, with SESAME, to take advantage of the availability of the DESY-1 facility, which could be shipped to the Middle East and set up as a light source there. And Helmut said, that's not the way to do it. The way to do it is to go there and train people and let them design their own new light source, which will be better than any second-hand light source that was used elsewhere and shut down because they built a newer and better one. So we got SESAME started by the attraction of great savings by using the DESY-1 facility. As it turned out, as we looked into it more and more, that it was a limited facility because it was a low energy machine, limited circumference, and had limited capability. And gradually we changed from the upgrade of DESY-1 to a completely new 2.5 GeV third generation light source, which is now in operation. So I think Helmut was right. He had the attitude that what you should do, as he did himself, go to these laboratories around the world and begin to teach accelerator physics, develop their competence in the field so that they could design and build their own light source to best meet their own needs. So I think this is a wonderful contribution to the field and to promoting understanding and cooperation among people from all different countries. So I think with that, I will turn it back to the organizer for the next speaker.
Thank you very much, Professor WINICK. Thank you very much. You have had some interesting points about Professor Wiedemann. I myself preferred we have had more time to talk about your ideas about how scientists can collaborate with each other according to some maybe political boundaries and some kind of injustice between nations and mainly dominated by governments. And I know that you have sense of interaction with society. And as I can see from the board behind you, Black Lives Matter, and you have fought for quality, for equality, and for justice for the society around you. This was a good example of a scientist who can have a great and collaborative connection with his society. Hossein Qasim, if you can hear me, he's an accelerator scientist in diamond light source. He used to be head of beam dynamic in ILSF. He has worked with Helmut Wiedemann for a long time. And good to see you here after so long via internet. Can you, I can't see you. I have lost your picture, Hossein, if you can.
My camera is
hear
on.
me.
Yes, I can hear you, and my camera is on.
Your camera is on, so maybe this is because, no, this is because of our internet problems in here. But you can,
I can see.
you can start.
We can hear and see you, Dr. Qasim, please.
Okay. Hello, everybody. I'm Hossein Qasim, currently working at Diamond Light Source Facility as accelerator physicist. Before I say anything, I would like to thank ISF guys who organized this online memorial event, for our nice teacher, Professor Helmut Wiedemann. It's really difficult for me to describe my sense about him with only words. I never thought about today and what to say about him, but I believe I was very lucky to meet very good scientific people in my life, and definitely one of them was Professor Helmut Wiedemann. I'd like to tell you a memory from him when I was PhD students and met him for the first time in Taiwan. I was doing my PhD thesis in Taiwan for the source and wanted to publish my paper, my PhD paper, and asked him just to quickly check and let me have your comments. And he warmly accepted to help. Also, I knew that at that time he was really busy with the
I guess Dr. Qasim has reset it.
He is frozen on my screen as well.
We have lost Hossein.
Hello.
We can hear you, Dr. Qasim. You can continue.
I think we heard part of your sentences, but not much when you started speaking about your personal recollections.
Okay.
You left off giving him a copy of your thesis in Taiwan.
Okay. So I just repeated again. I asked him to quickly check it, and he warmly accepted and helped it. And I knew that he was really busy at that period of time. Just after a day, he came to me, sat next to me, and gave me his valuable advices. That was beyond what I expected. We were involved for a week to prepare the paper. And at that time, I said to myself, wow, I meet a scientific gentleman with full of kindness, honest, and also patience, because he could potentially answer all my questions, even stupid ones. This is exactly what I can say again today about him after a review of around 15 years. I remember that when he firstly came to Iran and initiated his work with 1 month's course of accelerator physics, afterwards, the core of the ISF technical group was selected from the attendees of that training, and I believe he laid synchrotron science in Iran for the first time. As one of the advisors, he could come very frequently and could stay for a long time with us, usually 3 weeks, which was really helpful to the ISF technical group. He had totally 9 visits to the ISF, and during his visits, we had enough time to digest the new lessons. And he was there to answer our questions and discuss about any technical issues that helped to deepen our knowledge and provided a starting floor for improvement of the project. His advices, along our other advisors, helped us in making some critical decisions for the ISF project. Some issues like, for example, choosing a low or high field dipole for the storage ring lattice, or considering a booster in the shared or separated donor with the storage ring, deciding about the RF frequency, circumference of the ring, etc. In addition, he kindly accepted to be a member of the ILSF Machine Advisory Committee, as Jalad said. Can you hear me?
We lost 100%.
Just for avoiding any further loss. His contribution to the accelerator science was not limited only to the accelerator, to the ILSF project. He also taught PhD students of the School of Particles and accelerators within a few courses. And I remember that all the students were deeply happy and thankful to us just because of him. I think it was a small portion of his help to us, and believe the worldwide accelerator community owes him and is now suffering a significant loss. I don't want to talk too much. And at the end, I would like to appreciate our nice teacher for all he kindly gave us, and would say goodbye, Helmut. We'll stay with you with your great and beneficial outputs, and we'll leave it then. I think we are now here just to share our deepest condolence to his family also, and we believe he will remain alive in our memory and hearts forever. Thank you.
And thank you, Hossein. Definitely, it was really great hearing about Wiedemann from you. Maziar from Communication and Outreach Office has provided a commemorative video from Professor Wiedemann. It could be interesting for me watching this video. It might be interesting for you. Maziar, you're on. You can tell us about the video. Maziar, it's yours.
Hello again, everyone. Before I publicly show this clip for the FaceTime, I just wanted to say that making this short video was a complete journey for me, actually. You know, 2 weeks ago, when we heard of Professor Wiedemann's passing, I decided to quickly make a simple slideshow to put on our website announcement. But as I gathered more and more of his photos and videos, thanks to my kind colleagues here, I began to realize everyone feels some kind of attachment to him. But when I was watching his lectures recorded at early days of ILSF, I started to figure out the reason. He was such a fluent and engaging lecturer, I couldn't stop watching as I was drawn interested into the subject. One of the reasons it took me 2 weeks to make this short video. Anyway, I also managed to contact Frank Wiedemann, Helmut's second son, and he kindly provided me with some of his family photos. But unfortunately, he couldn't manage to attend this memorial today. But strangely, as I began searching the internet after some old pictures from his early years at Hamburg University, DESY, on SLAC, and so on, I realized there was hardly any proper content found related to Wiedemann, such a well-known scientist. Not so many photos, no videos at all, not even an official webpage to provide reliable information about him. Strange. So we started reaching out to everyone who worked with him, and we started to build up a resume of his professional career to be summarized properly in the video. Now, long story short, I feel honored having made this tribute memory of a great scientist who was loved and respected by all my friends here, as well as the Synchrotron society around the world. So here you are. I hope you'll like it.
You get a quadrupole which has an aperture with an inscribed radius of r. That was your choice. Now, if you go further into the design of the magnet, you could say, okay, I just choose half a meter for any quadrupole I build. You can do that, no problem. But if you have a beam like this, every particle has the same charge, or at least the same sign of charge. And we know these particles repel each other. Should repel each other because they have the same charge. So how can you have a stable beam? Why does the beam not blow up? Lectures, sort of, because I want to say you it was a pleasure. I certainly wish you a great future, great success, and a high brightness light source. Not in the too far future. This is really the end. See you again sometime. Because now you have to work. I'm done. For you.
Thank you, Maziar. Thank you for this beautiful video. Every time I watch this video, it's really moving. It's really moving, and we have to say that this video is made up of some parts or some photos or some videos usually taken in here, and we tried to find some other photos from the sun, and therefore it was really great. Thank you for that. Now I want Ms. Farshid Sahadi, head of RF in ILSF, my colleague, to talk about Helmut Wiedemann right now. I asked her to come to here and let us know about him a little.
Hello, everyone. It's hard for me to talk about Helmut without tears, and I guess my turn is the toughest turn in this event because I need to talk after this video. Although I watched it before, I try to don't watch it now. So, as Hossein said, Helmut played a significant role in foundation of synchrotron science in Iran and also training of ILSF staff. He had long visits to Iran and stays long that we have time to digest his lessons and ask questions. Along with all theory of accelerator physics he taught us, he always encouraged us to build the prototypes with available material we have, and he wants us to get hands-on experience and learn the concept thoroughly. So, for example, he pushed us to build the H dipole magnet using car steel ST14, or building a RF gun with normal copper and screw the part together instead of brazing to have the initial test and then try to tune it. Some of the photos of tuning gun, it was in the clip. He was here and we tuned the gun together. And even I remember in his second visit, it was, I guess, back in 2011, he even suggested that we can use a cookie box as a pillbox cavity and try to practice B2 measurements. And I remember he said with his special humor that we can enjoy the cookies with the tip before the test. And then the next day, I bought a big Danish biscuit box and we followed his idea. And it was a delicious cavity working at 1.2 gigahertz. We always recall his famous witty statement. I brought some of them here. When we would discuss about planning and time schedule, he used to advise that we should multiply the plan time by the golden ratio phi number, and sometimes he teases us maybe pi number. And he used to warn us that don't get disappointed or don't feel bad if you have delays in budget acquiring, because then you will have enough time to get really ready. And his most well-known word that we repeated to each other all the time was to share the pain while designing the accelerator components, by which he meant that we need to balance the difficulty of design and fabrication in different systems and different groups, not, for example, pushing magnets so hard and the vacuum are relaxed. And now he's gone, and we are sharing the pain and sorrow deep in our hearts. I think he truly believed in science without boundaries or borders, and he dedicated his life to that. He was so generous in spreading his knowledge and experience to anyone enthusiastic anywhere in the world. We feel honored to have been his mentees, and his passing away has left an empty spot in our hearts. We will always remember his kind, welcoming face, calm smile, witty sense of humor, patience, and great humbleness. And these qualities make him unforgettable to those around him. For me, he exemplified this Persian poem, and I'm not sure how well I could have translated it. Everyone would sing their own song and leave the stage. The stage will always remain. Blessed are those whose songs are remembered. And the Persian version is هر کسی نغمه خود خواند و از صحنه رود، صحنه پیوسته به جاست. خرم و نغمه که مردم بسپارند به یاد. Thank you.
I'd like to thank you, Khurshid, because of your very sensitive words. Yes, they were really moving for all of us here. And thank you. I'd like to thank Maya Kiskinova. She has sent us some nice note. I'd like to invite her to share her comments. In our open communication, we have an open communication at the end of our discussion, about 20 minutes. Everyone who is going to share his comments and his memories about Wiedemann, he or she can send us some notifications and can send us her messages, and we can set a schedule at the end of this discussion right now to have open discussion. And I'd like to ask Sarud Rajaravata, SLRI Director and Associate Professor of Soranari University of Technology. I'd like to thank him because I know it's late at night in Thailand and you were up to this time to participate in this commemorative meeting. And we are waiting to hear about Wiedemann from you. You're welcome. Sarud Rajaravata. Here you go.
Good morning and good afternoon, friends. This is our message from SLI for Professor Wiedemann. Okay. Yes. Can you hear me? Yeah.
I can see the second slide of your PowerPoint presentation.
Okay. Thank you. So I will go on that. Professor Wiedemann came to visit us in 2005, and at that time he educated us on how to do real accelerator physics. He gave advice on how to measure the low local beta-ton function and establish a correct storage ring model. And he showed us how to accurately model the ring. This led to the improvement of photon beam quality of our accelerator. After that, between 2006 to 2010, he served as our main scientific advisor. He gave us lots of advice, teach our team of physicists how to improve the machine. For example, he led the project on how to increase the electron beam energy from 1 GeV to 1.2 GeV. This led to the really useful application of the synchrotron light source in Thailand. He reduced the transverse beam emittance of our ring. And also he introduced the cryogenic technology by inserting a 6.4 Tesla superconducting wavelength shifter that donate from Taiwan light source to our ring. This greatly improved the ability of our ring to provide X-ray for user. Also, he improved the injection efficiency to the storage ring. He also proposed a beam emittance reduction scheme from dBA to TBA, and this is based on the MBA lattice we're using now for modeling the new ring 3.0 GeV. To summarize, he educated us a lot on how to really work on synchrotron radiation. This is what we remember him as our great teacher. So he always gave advice to us, even in private communication. And he greatly contributed to enhance the SLI performance, leading to successful operation of the present facility. He'll be remembered, always be remembered. His dedication and kindness will forever be with us. Rest in peace. Thank you.
Thank you, Sir Rawat. It was really inspiring and moving for us to know about Helmut Wiedemann and what he has done in Southeast Asia, like what he has done here. And we have to sign out once because of an hour limit for Google Meet. And again, we rejoin the link and we continue our discussion with the rest of our guests. Welcome back, everybody, to the commemorative meeting of Professor Helmut Wiedemann, held by ILSF family. And now I'd like to ask Ms. Lin. Professor Lin is senior physicist and head of the NLS Accelerator Physics Group, also a prominent member of ILSF Machine Advisory Committee. The last meeting was held in June 2015. Welcome, Professor Lin, and we would be grateful to hear about Professor Wiedemann from you. The mic is yours.
Okay, thank you. I have some slides. I will try to share them now. Okay, can you see it?
Yes, we can see it.
Yes, it's getting uploaded. Yes, it's ready.
Okay. Oops. So I'm going to talk something about the interaction between Professor Helmut Wiedemann and the Brazilian Synchrotron Light Laboratory, the LNLS.
I think people need to mute their mics. I hear feedback.
Yes, yes, please keep your mics off and cameras on.
Okay, so in 1980s, the early days, Helmut had a fundamental role in the creation of LNLS, and he has always been a great enthusiast and supporter of the Brazilian project to build a synchrotron light source. In the early 80s, when the discussions in Brazil for such a project began, he came several times to Brazil to give seminars and courses about synchrotron light facilities. And I found one of the proceedings of one of these workshops, and you can see here, it was in Rio de Janeiro in 1983, and Helmut gave a lecture about synchrotron light facilities. Then in 1985, Helmut received at SLAC a small group of young scientists at that time, of course, that worked with him on the conceptual design of the first Brazilian synchrotron light source that was later called Project One. This project served as the basis for the creation of LNLS in 1986. So you have a picture here of the group at that time in Helmut's office at SSRL. And this is what the project was. A ring of 3 GV, 37 nanometers and 206 meters circumference. Then what we ended up in building from 1987 to 1997 was the first machine at LNLS, which is called UVX. You can see a picture of the machine here. And Helmut also helped, of course, in designing and this machine and building and commissioning. You can see Helmut here. In the second UVX MAC meeting in July 1991. And here is a picture of him in front of the UVX building. Then from 2012 to this year, we have now our second machine, Sirius, which is under commissioning. And Helmut again participated. He was member of Sirius MAC, and you can see here. Oops. Oh, sorry. Picture. Oops. Sorry. Helmut here in the MAC, and he came several times since we started the Sirius design for the various MACs. And he would stay here each time for a longer time, for 3 weeks or something like that.
Sorry, Professor, we can't see your slides. I think there is some problem with that.
Sorry.
Yes.
You can't see?
Yeah, we cannot see your slide. It's completely black.
I will stop sharing and share again, okay?
No, yes.
It's a good idea, yeah. It's again black. Can you just close your presentation application? It's a PowerPoint. I guess it helps.
Okay. Maybe I can try to. Okay, so I'll quit and start again.
It's okay.
Sorry. Yeah, I don't know why I can't see.
Okay, can you tell us about him and if you?
Okay, so I was going to present some messages that he sent us on the occasion of Sirius' first turn in November last year. So it's the time of message he would send us. So he sent us Congratulations to all of you who have worked so hard. I remember the time when Ricardo cooled the LEHNE with an automobile cooler. Patience and persistence gets you ahead, and that's what you have done. You made a great contribution to your country. Congratulations and much luck in finishing the commissioning of the storage ring, which of course you will do in due time. And then he said to me, hi Violin, I wish you all enjoy this most exciting time of such a project. It does not come by very often, but it supports your theoretical think at every step. You all worked very hard, and I'm proud to have been a part of it. It was a long and hard way, but you did it. And just to end, it's a pity because I had some pictures of him, and one picture that he liked very much, it was him talking with the bird, and he liked this picture, and he always said he was consulting with the specialist. So to finish, we would like to thank you, Helmut, for your constant and invaluable support, for your extraordinary clearness in explaining accelerator physics, for your enthusiasm and energy, for inspiring all of us, for being such a special human being, and thank you for shining light on all of us. Okay, that's it.
Thank you, Professor Lily, and thank you for your comments and notes. It was really great. And now we have SLAC National Accelerator Lab scientists, James SEBEK and James SAFRANEK, Bob HETTEL. We first start with James. And here it's written James SEBEK. Hello, James. Professor SEBEK, we would like to hear from Professor Wiedemann by you, and mic is yours.
Okay, thank you. I would first like to thank Professors Rahigi and Salimi and the other members of the Iranian Light Source facility for organizing this tribute to Helmut. Excuse me. Next, I would like to express my sincere condolences to his sons, Frank and Martin. I know that 2020 has been a very difficult year for both of them, and they please should accept my deepest sympathies. I will concentrate my talk on Helmut's career at SLAC in general and SSRL in particular. As Herman has already told you, Helmut, as a newly minted PhD from the University of Hamburg, first came to SLAC as a visiting scientist from DESY in 1972. He was permanently hired at SLAC as a physicist in 1975. He spent his early years at SLAC working on the rings used for high-energy physics. He worked on both the damping rings for the SLAC LEHNE and the 18 GeV PEP storage ring, ultimately serving as the assistant director of that ring and earning a promotion to the rank of SLAC professor in 1980. In 1983, Helmut moved from the world of high-energy physics to that of synchrotron radiation. At that time, the Stanford Synchrotron Radiation Laboratory, SSRL, was a laboratory of Stanford University. It was located on the SLAC campus and shared the Spear storage ring with the SLAC High Energy Physics program. Artie Bienenstock, SSRL's director, recruited Helmut in order to strengthen the accelerator expertise at SSRL. Designed as a high-energy collider, Spear had a high emittance lattice, not well suited for a synchrotron source. New synchrotron sources, which would compete with SSRL, were under development around the world, including the APS and ALS in the United States. And Spear had a very low priority in SLAC's mission. SLAC's highest priority was operating the LINAC to support the Stanford Linear Collider or high-energy physics. Operation of the collider as a production machine was incompatible with the injection of beam into Spear from the LINAC. The future of SSRL was in serious jeopardy. Helmut developed a plan that saved the future of SSRL. He designed a dedicated injector for Spear and led the team that built it. Once built, the injector eliminated the dependency of SPEAR on the SLAC LINAC. Helmut accomplished this task by assembling a team of smart, hardworking people who got along well with each other, helped each other, and ensured the success of the project. At the time of the injector project, started in 1987, Helmut was already a professor in the Applied Physics Department of Stanford University. He had 4 graduate students. Helmut had the ability to integrate the students into the project to the great advantage of both the students and the injector. He assigned the students major design and commissioning responsibilities, working under his guidance and those of other experts at SLAC. These responsibilities were much greater than those typically given to students of other faculty members. Because of this integration, Helmut students experienced a unique and valuable educational experience, and the project greatly benefited from their designs, creativity, and hard work. Helmut also used the injector to advance both SSRL and the accelerator community in several other ways. He had known for years that by changing the operating parameters of the existing SPEAR hardware, he could modify the SPEAR lattice to achieve a much lower emittance. The existing SPEAR injection scheme prevented this modification. As part of the injector project, Helmut had one of his students design and implement the modified injection scheme in the lower emittance lattice. The injector project not only delivered beam to SPEAR, it also significantly improved its brightness by lowering SPEAR's emittance. Another part of the SPEAR lattice study was the novel idea to see what emittance one could achieve by replacing the accelerator hardware while leaving the beam lines untouched. Helmut realized that half the cost of a synchrotron light source paid for the accelerator, while the other half paid for the beam lines. He knew that it would be easier to fund a future upgrade of SPEAR if he only needed to obtain the money for the accelerator. 10 years after the completion of the injector, the design for SPEAR 3 started, and Helmut's novel idea came to fruition. Today, this idea is the standard which all labs, APS, ALS, ESRF, etc., follow for their major upgrades. Also, as part of the injector, Helmut had another of his students design an S-band RF gun. Using this gun and an alpha magnet, under Helmut's guidance, the student developed an injection lattice that could be used to produce short bunches out of the LINAC. Helmut used this gun in the Sunshine Laboratory, a 30 MeV LINAC that he built on the Stanford University campus. The research at Sunshine earned PhDs for 6 more of Helmut's students. One achievement was the development of sub-picosecond bunches. Another significant result out of Sunshine was the demonstration of exponential growth of the radiation generated by an undulator downstream of the LINAC. This was one of the first demonstrations of the exponential growth that occurs in free electron lasers. Helmut also shared the RF gun with other laboratories around the world. He arranged collaborations with his friends and colleagues in other laboratories such that each laboratory would contribute one step in the manufacture and testing of the gun. This not only made the guns affordable to smaller labs, it also transferred accelerator technology and expertise to these labs. It was an open source RF gun. The injector project is an excellent example of the way Helmut worked. He took an important problem that needed to be solved and used that opportunity to develop a solution that not only solved the primary problem, but created multiple advances in accelerator physics and technology that led to further research and, in so doing, trained a new generation of accelerator physicists. In addition to his technical contributions to the field of accelerator physics, Helmut was well known and remembered for his passion for education and his ability in teaching, training, and mentoring students, postdocs, and even more established physicists. His teaching began with his appointment to the Stanford University Applied Physics faculty. He began teaching accelerator physics courses at Stanford. This led to the writing of his classic texts on particle accelerator physics, which are still standards in the field today. His text on synchrotron radiation followed a few years later. But Helmut did not limit his educational duties to just his own teaching. He formed an advanced accelerator physics curriculum in the applied physics department and recruited the top SLAC accelerator physics faculty, world-class experts such as Perry Wilson, Roger Miller, Alex Chow, Bob Seaman, and Ron Ruth to teach the courses in their specialties. This curriculum offered a unique opportunity for Stanford students to learn material not taught at other universities. And since SLAC is just down the street from Stanford University, practicing accelerator physicists from SLAC also took these classes and learned this material. As we all know, Helmut did not confine his teaching to Stanford. He also taught accelerator physics courses at schools, institutes, and laboratories around the world. Of these, perhaps he taught most frequently at the United States Particle Accelerator School. When S.Y. Lee's term as director of USPAS ended, Helmut was the logical choice to take his place. He led USPAS from 2002 through 2006. During his tenure as director, he personally taught hundreds of students. He particularly enjoyed teaching the introductory class courses because he liked to engage the students new to the field and stimulate their interest in the field. He introduced a hands-on laboratory to USPAS that allowed the students to work with actual accelerator components or cookie tins and observe signals, make measurements, and perform calculations that closely mimicked actual beam-generated signals. This laboratory remains one of the most popular parts of the USPAS curriculum. Over his 4 years as director, Helmut was responsible for the accelerator education of thousands of students, accelerator physicists, engineers, and accelerator operators from the U.S. and around the world. Finally, I would like to offer some personal thoughts. Helmut was a brilliant physicist and an excellent teacher, but more importantly, he was a very decent and kind human being. He treated everyone he worked with equally and with respect. That, in return, earned him the respect and admiration of those who worked for and with him. It was never an effort to work hard for Helmut. You knew that the work you were doing was important and that your efforts were valued. Helmut was not just a boss or teacher or mentor. He was also a friend. At first, I thought that maybe I was the only one who felt this way. But in speaking with my other friends and colleagues who also worked with Helmut and listening to the previous speakers, I have learned that I was not unique. We all shared our admiration, friendship, and love for Helmut. I will miss him, but I will not forget him. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor SEBEK. Thank you so much. And we can also have James SAFRANEK if he's ready, or if he might like to join us. He can.
Yes,
Yes. Welcome to our meeting, and we would be grateful to hear about Helmut Wiedemann from you.
Okay.
You're ready. I think there is disconnection.
I think he's muted.
Okay. Now, can you hear me again?
Yes, we can. That's okay.
Oh.
Yes,
Good.
Professor.
Sorry about that. So, good. I'll start again then. Yeah, thanks so much for giving me the opportunity to say a few words at this memorial. I was one of the 4 graduate students that Jim SEBEK mentioned who worked on the SSRL injector project. And I remember it as one of the most enjoyable phases of my life. It was only later that I realized how remarkable that time was and how lucky we were as graduate students to have Helmut as an advisor. When I look back from my perspective now, I'm amazed that Helmut gave his graduate students so much responsibility in such a critical project. Helmut used the injector project as a teaching and mentoring opportunity. It is a testimonial to Helmut's great skill as a teacher that he could take completely green graduate students and give them significant roles in such a project. He was comfortable letting us work away and make mistakes, but then he would come in and gently nudge us back on track. It was a perfect example of mentoring. I remember as one of the proudest moments of my life having completed my PhD and getting ready to depart to my first job. The director of SSRL, Artie Bienenstock, told me that he thought I had contributed more to SSRL than any graduate student before me. I realize now that this compliment was all about Helmut, that Helmut had the confidence in his mentoring skills to take ignorant graduate students and give them such responsibility. It was a huge opportunity for us, and I'm deeply grateful. Perhaps some of you have seen the photographs from the injector project I posted in Dropbox. If you'd like, if you don't have them, send me an email and I'd be happy to share them with you. And there were many happy faces in the photographs, and I very much enjoyed having the opportunity to go through these photos and remember how much I enjoyed that time. Anyway, thank you very much for giving me the pleasure of sharing these recollections. And by the way, Bob HETTEL, who was about to speak, texted me at the beginning of this meeting and said that his Wi-Fi had failed at his house. So unless he got it fixed, he's not here. So that he sends his regrets. I don't know if this is being recorded, but if it is, I'm sure he would love the opportunity to see it. Thank you.
Yes, it is recorded. Thank you very much, Professor SAFRANEK. And we are really granted we cannot have Bob HETTEL here, and also according to our schedule, Richard Walker is not also could not collaborate in our meeting too. And now we have some time for open communication for any of our upright guests who are willing to share his words and or his memories about Professor Wiedemann. If anyone is willing to share his comments, we are ready, and we'll be grateful to hear. So also, I think we have had Professor ATTWOOD at the beginning. I would like him to join us if he hears me, and otherwise, if any other of our guests is willing to say some words about him, and he can turn his mic on and join us. Otherwise,
I would like to.
Olive Kravich, yes. Hey, hello, welcome here, and we would be grateful to hear from you about him. Professor Kravich, yes.
Okay, thank you. I would like to tell a few words about Helmut. I met him at Rio de Janeiro in 1983 when we invited him to give lectures at the first Brazilian meeting on synchron radiation. From the beginning, I appreciated his enthusiastic support for the Brazilian project, and I always remember his open smile when that invited us to be optimistic with this new project. I met Helmut several times more at Trieste, at ICTP at Trieste, when we shared the direction, and he was also a professor of the Biennial School on Synchron Radiation from 1991 until 208. We met there every 2 years for 1 month for the course dedicated to young people from third world countries. We met there a lot of students from third world countries, with people from students from the third world countries. Helmut was the most popular professor, and he was used to share his time in his dinner with the students. He preferred to be with young people. My third remembrance of Helmut was a visit to Chiang Mai in the northern part of Thailand 3 years ago, that I visited my son in Australia and jumped from there to Thailand. And his smile was still there. He still was enthusiastic. He still had a project, even although retired. He was as the young Helmut that I met in Rio de Janeiro 40 years before. It was a pleasure for me to have met Helmut. I thank him very much his very important contribution to the Brazilian Synchrotron project. Thank you, Helmut. And thank you for the opportunity for giving this work.
Thank you very much, Professor Krajewicz, I think. We have recorded a video. We can give you the whole meeting. And we are honored if any other of our upright guests is ready or is willing to share his comments about Professor Wiedemann.
Does Maya KISKINOVA have any comment to say? Have anything to say?
Yeah, Maya has sent us some nice text, and I also asked her to join us. I think she has left, and if she hears us, we are willing to have her here.
Maybe I would like to add one small comment from...
Welcome, Professor LAUSI. Yes, we are ready.
A comment coming from the path that brought me to SESAME at the end. And because I interacted only not very much with Helmut. I was in Hossein and in Tehran in 2014, 2015. So I had a chance to meet him, but we had many memories from people who had the pleasure and of working with him. But what I would like to add here is that also all those of us in this community that have not worked directly for him still benefit of what he has done. So I most probably would not have been here without all the efforts of Herman WINICK and his efforts, the efforts of the Iranian light source, the efforts of SESAME, the efforts of many other facilities which are being built around the world in this moment. So we are a community, and there are some key persons that we like to remember, like in this case. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor LAUSI. Yes, we have all been beneficiary of his words, of his way of living, of his manner of lifestyle. Whatever he has taught us is kept with us, and his memory can never be forgotten. And I also welcome, if we have also time for other guests, 5 minutes. We have 5 minutes left for any of our upright and elaborate guests to join us and tell us about him or experiencing of working with him. And
maybe I can
has Morteza
Professor Pedro Fernandez, yes. If you are ready, it would be grateful to have you here.
So I just would like to add a few words.
You can turn your video on.
My connection to Helmut dates back to the same time as Liu Lin's connection.
Great to see you.
So I was also one of the young and inexperienced that formed the team that would later build the first Brazilian synchrotron. And I saw Helmut, I witnessed Helmut help that project in many different ways, by teaching, by giving lectures on accelerator physics and technology, also by brainstorming with us when we were going through the more difficult times of the commissioning of the first synchrotron, as well as by taking people from LNLS at Stanford for certain periods, people who did their postdocs or other types of connections to Helmut to form. But what I will always remember about Helmut, the one thing I wanted to say, is his fantastic ability as a teacher. His way of approaching any problem, no matter how complicated it might seem, with such a relaxed attitude that it simply made it look so simple. So in his words, in the way that he described any of the physics behind accelerators, everything seemed just so obviously simple. It was really fantastic, and I will always remember that. I will cherish his memory. He will be sorely missed. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Fernandez, and many great words. And I think we are coming to an end to our discussion. I'd like to thank all our guests or elaborate scientists. They have joined us in this commemorative meeting of Professor Wiedemann. He may not be forgotten with us, especially for ILSF. I myself have had a lot of memories of talking with him, learning from him, not only about physics, but everything. I'd like to thank my colleagues here, Dr. Salimi, and on top of that, Professor Rahide, for providing this opportunity for us to have a warm meeting together. And if there's no one left, we can say goodbye and join together sometime else in future, maybe. And we can have your emails too about this meeting also, and the video is also sent to your email. And again, I'd like to thank you all on behalf of my colleagues for joining us, and from all around the world. I hope you are safe and sound and have a good life.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for organizing this. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Pedro.
Thank you. Bye. Bye-bye.
Thank you for all of you to
Thank you, Herman.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
We are hearing you.
Great.
With the mask.
Thank you.
Thank you for a speech. Gesture here.
Nice to meet you again, Herman.
Here in Iran, we totally support your cause.
I said that if I was an American person, I will vote for the same candidate as Herman WINICK.
Yes, yes. The presidential election in the United States can affect us deeply. I see Herman WINICK. Yes, it's showing Barack Obama and Ginsburg, I think, yes? Judge Ginsburg, we cannot hear you. Your mic is
Please
on.
unmute yourself, Herman.
Professor WINICK, you can turn your mic on.
So it's a free discussion, I guess.
Yes.
These are my heroes. And I was saying earlier, Ruth Bader Ginsburg was a magnificent judge who passed away.
مرسی. خیلی متشکرم. بفرمایید خواهش کنم. مرسی. خیلی متشکرم. خسته نباشید. خدا حافظ.